If you need to pass GED Math, know that the questions in this video contain key skills and concepts that you need to know to move ahead. So if you're a beginner and you're new to the GED Math test here, hopefully what you learn in this video will help you move ahead faster because these are all foundational skills to know. And if you've been at it for a while now and you're still not where you want to be, hopefully reviewing some of the basic skills in this video will help you move ahead also. Please match the equations to the solutions. So we have here a plus 4 equals 10, 2c equals 16, x over 15 equals 5, y minus 13 equals 22, and so we have the answers down here, 35, 8, 75, and 6, so you just have to figure out which answer choice goes in which box here. So let me give you a chance to pause the video, try to figure this out, and if you get stuck, don't worry about it because we don't care if you get it right or wrong for right now, we only care about the learning, so let me give you a chance to try this now if you'd like to. Okay, so this is one of the most important skills for the entire GED test. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take each equation and we're going to work step by step through each one here to get the right answers. So here we have a plus 4 equals 10. So when it comes to solving equations, what you really want to do is you want to take your variable and you want to get that by itself on one side of the equation. Now, if you're wondering what's a variable is just a fancy word for an unknown, all right? And we're going to use a letter to represent something when we don't know what it is. So basically here we have a plus 4 equals 10. A is my letter here, so a is my variable. And all I want to do is get this a by itself. So I have a plus 4 equals 10 here. Now, to get a by itself, what I can do is do the opposite of addition. So since it's a plus 4, if I do minus 4, the 4's are going to cancel out. And that's going to leave me with a by itself on the left-hand side of the equation. But there's one more rule for solving equations that's really important to remember. And the rule is that whatever we do to one side, we also have to do it to the other side as well. So if I subtract a 4 on the left side, I have to come over here to the right side, and I'm also going to have to subtract 4 from 10. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to have a equals 6 because 10 minus 4 is 6. All right, so 6 is going to go in the first box here. So now we have 2c equals 16. So my variable here is the c, and what I want to do again is I want to get the c by itself here. So I have 2c, that's the same as 2 times c. And the opposite of multiplication or times is division. So if I want to get the c by itself, since it's 2 times c, I want to divide by 2. And if I divide by 2, the 2's are going to cancel out on the left-hand side of the equation. That's going to leave us with just c, which is what we want. But remember, whatever we do to one side, we also have to do it to the other side as well. So we'll have to divide by 2 over here. So I would then have c equals 8. So my 8 is going to go here in the second box. So now we come to this x divided by 15 equals 5. So the first thing I see is that our variable here is x, and we want to get the x by itself on the left-hand side of the equation. So we have x divided by 15. So what is the opposite of division? Well, the opposite of division is multiplication. So if I multiply by 15 over here, what's going to happen is that my 15's are going to cancel out, which gives us just this x here. But whatever I do to one side, I'm also going to have to do to the other side as well. So I would have 5 times 15 to do, and 5 times 15 is 75. So here I'll figure out that x equals 75. So my 75 that's down here in the smaller box, I'm going to put that in here into the box here. Now, since we only have one box left here, we know that it's going to be the 35 since that's the only one left. But just for practice here, let's go over this anyway. So we have y minus 13 equals 22. So basically, it's the same strategy here. We want to get the y by itself. So I have y minus 13, and the opposite of minus is plus, or addition. So what I want to do to get this y by itself is add 13, and of course, whatever I do to one side, I also have to do it to the other. So I have to add 13 to this 22. So if I do 22 plus 13, that gives me 35. So once I rewrite this, I'll see that y equals 35. Now, these are really, really important skills to have down for the GED test. So if you had trouble with this or just want to get more practice or even look at this more in depth, I have a whole video on solving equations. I'll try to remember to put a link to that down below in the description. Please use the FOIL method to multiply 3x plus 1, 2x minus 1, and you have answer choices A, B, C, and D. So now's your chance, if you'd like to pause the video and give this one a shot. And if you haven't had a chance to review the FOIL method yet, absolutely no worries, because we're just going to go over it. So I know that everyone watching this is going to be at a different spot with their studying. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the FOIL method yet, absolutely no worries, because I'm just going to talk about what you need to know now. So basically, in this case, we have to multiply binomials. So this 3x plus 1, this is one binomial. And this 2x minus 1, this is our second binomial. So the F here stands for first. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to pick out the first term in the first binomial, which is 3x. And I want to come over here to my second binomial, and I want to pick out the first term over here. And that is this 2x. So I'm going to multiply 3x and 2x. So 3 times 2 is 6, and x times x is x squared. So that takes care of the first. So the O stands for outer. So next what I want to do is I'm going to do 3x. I'm going to multiply it by the outer term here, and I have to take this minus into consideration. So it's not just 3x times 1, it's 3x times minus 1, which is going to be minus 3x. So that's my outer. Now for my inner, what I want to do is I'm going to take this 1, and I'm going to look at this 2x, and I'm going to multiply them. So that's simple enough. 1 times 2x is just 2x. And since it's positive 2x, we are going to just do plus 2x. So now let's deal with the last term. So basically, the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to look for the pair that I haven't multiplied yet. So that's going to be my 1 and my minus 1. And again, I have to always consider the sign here. So we're going to do 1 times minus 1, which is just minus 1. So I have 6x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 1. I'm almost done here. I'm really close. So the last thing I have to do is I have to realize that this minus 3x plus 2x, all right, we have an x here in both terms. So we have to combine like terms. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to do negative 3 plus 2, and I'm going to bring that x along for the ride. So here's my 6x squared. I'm going to pull that down. So what is negative 3 plus 2? Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1, and I'm going to pull that x along for the ride. So I'm going to have 6x squared minus x minus 1. Okay, so hopefully this all makes sense. B is the correct answer here. Consider the formula 3x equals 6 times z plus 2. If z equals 1, what is the value of x? Is the answer A, B, C, or D? So now is your chance to, if you'd like to pause the video and try this out. And if you get stuck, don't worry about it, because we're just going to go over the answer. Okay, so let's talk about this question. So since I know that z equals 1 here, I'm going to take this 1 and I'm going to come into the formula here and I'm going to plug 1 in for z. And if you're not sure what that means, all that means is that I'm going to basically rewrite this, and I'm going to write a 1 instead of z. So right where that z was, I'm going to put 1. So it becomes 1 plus 2, because we know that z equals 1 here. So now we have 3x equals 6, parenthesis 1 plus 2 parenthesis, and we want to find the value of x. So to get the value of x, I want to get this x by itself on one side of my equation here. Now, in a scenario like this, what I want to do first is address what's inside the parentheses. So if I do that, and let me rewrite, I'll have 3x equals 6 times 3, because 1 plus 2 is 3. So let me rewrite again, and when you're working the problems, you don't necessarily have to rewrite every little step like this. I'm doing this more for instructional purposes, but it also doesn't hurt if that's what it takes to get the question right. But we now have 3x equals 18, because 6 times 3 is 18. So we have this 3x, that's 3 times x. So if I divide by 3, my 3's will cancel out. And whatever I do to one side, I also have to do it to the other side as well. So if I do 18 divided by 3, that gives me 6. So the final answer is that x equals 6. So C is correct here. This video's champion shoutout goes to a test taker who just passed every subject with college-ready scores, which is really good, and says moving on to college and hopefully becoming a paramedic, which is a fantastic goal. And I'm really happy for this person, and anyone that's watching this right now that hasn't passed yet, just know that if you keep working hard and you stick with it, no matter how hard it seems, someday you can be done too. So this next question, this is a question I originally posted on my community tab on my YouTube channel, but it's a really good foundational concept to make sure you understand. So the question is, which of the following is false? A negative number divided by a negative number results in a negative number. A negative number divided by a negative number results in a positive number. A negative number divided by a positive number results in a negative number. Or a positive number divided by a positive number results in a positive number. So now's your chance if you'd like to pause the video, think about this, and whenever you're ready, we'll go over the answer. So the answer here is the first one, a negative number divided by a negative number results in a negative number. That is the false one, which means that these three are true statements, and I'd recommend making sure that you know these three statements here as they're all true. Now, why is the first one false? Well, it's false because if you take a negative number and divide it by another negative number, you're going to get a positive number. All right, so that's why this first statement is false. Jared hates country music. However, he matched with a girl on a dating app who says she loves 90s country in her dating profile. To figure out if they'll be compatible in the long run, Jared tries listening to some 90s country. He records the number of times he played each song in the table below. What is the median number of times he played each song? So now is your chance if you'd like to pause the video, try to figure this out, and whenever you're ready, we'll go over the answer. Okay, so mean, median, mode, and range questions, I really like to drill down on them in my videos, and a lot of people who watch my videos say that after a while they kind of pick it up just because I cover it so many times. So if you're new to my channel, first of all, welcome. If you're returning and you've seen my videos before, you probably get tired of me covering mean, median, mode, and range, but I can assure you that it's really important. Mean, median, mode, and range questions are fair game for math, science, and social studies, so there's a good chance you're going to get at least one of these questions at some point. And this question's asking you how to find the median. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by taking all of the numbers, and we want to put them in order from smallest to largest, and then we're going to look for the middle number. A lot of test takers, they remember that median has something to do with the middle number, which is correct, okay, but you have to put the numbers in order from smallest to largest first. So here we have 1, 2, 4, 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6. Okay, so here we go. So when we put the numbers in order from smallest to largest, this is what we're going to have. And so since we've got an odd number of numbers here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all we have to do is just pick out the middle number. And in this case, the middle number is 3. All right, so when you've got an odd number of numbers, again, you just put them in order from smallest to largest, find the number that's right in the middle, and that's all you have to do for median. If we had an even number of numbers, I'll just tell you what to do in that case. You want to always put them in order from smallest to largest, then you'd pick out the two numbers in the middle, add them up, and divide by 2. For the sake of time, we're not going to go over an example like that here just now, but just know that that's how you would do it if you had an even number of numbers. Rick keeps track of the number of meals he's eaten at each of his favorite restaurants over the past 3 months. What is the mean number of meals Rick ate at his favorite restaurant over the past 3 months? And here are the number of meals, and it says, please write your answer in the box below. And obviously you can't write your answer through the screen, so maybe write it down on a sheet of paper or just keep track of it somehow. And I'll let you pause the video, take a stab at this one, take all the time you need, and if you get stuck, don't worry about it because we're just going to go over the answer. It's Friday right now. As I record this tomorrow on Saturday morning, my wife and I are going to take my daughter, who's almost 2 now, to a library in a small city that's like 40 minutes away from us, and we're going to take her to the public library. I heard they have a good kids section with kids books and toys, like a toy stove, toy kitchen stuff, refrigerator that my daughter will love to play with. And then after that, we're going to go to either Waffle House or Shorty's. And Shorty's is like a hot dog place. They've got really good hot dogs and chili cheese dogs and fries. And after that, we're going to a kids festival at a mall there, and the mall doesn't have that many stores left, but they're going to have like people dressed up in costumes and face painting and animals. So I have no idea who Rick is. I just made up the name Rick just for the purpose of writing a question. But anyway, you're probably here because you want to know how to do the mean, and you might not be too happy that I just took up your time by ranting about my weekend plan. So I do apologize for that. But basically, to find the mean, what we want to do is take all of the numbers here and we're going to add them up. So I'm just taking my 3, my 2, my 4, my 2, and my 1. I'm going to add them up. And then what I'm going to do is divide by the total number of numbers here that I'm working with. So let's count them up here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to divide by 5. So just to simplify this a little bit, when I do 3 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 in my calculator, I get 12. So to rewrite this here, I'll have 12 over 5. Now, if we just do 12 divided by 5 in the calculator, we get 2.4. So 2.4 is the answer here. Tommy, do you have any math tips to share? No? Well, thanks anyway. What is the slope of a line that passes through the points 12, 10, and 10, 14? Is it A, B, C, or D? Now, just for the sake of time, since we're just practicing, I gave you the formula for slope here. It's this little M symbol stands for slope. So it's slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But just know that on your test, you're going to want to go to the formula sheet that you'll get on your test, and you're going to want to find this formula for slope calculations. But as I said, since we're practicing, I just gave this to you now to save you some time. So now's your chance to pause the video if you'd like to try this out. And if you get stuck, don't worry, because we're just going to go over the answer. So the way that I like to teach slope questions is just by looking first at the first pair here, which is 12 and 10. Now, the first number in a pair like this, it's always going to be an x. So I'm just going to call this x1. And this 10 right here, the second number in the pair, is always going to be a y. So I'm going to call this y1. Now I'm going to come over here to my other pair, my 10 and 14. And this 10 right here, I'm going to call this x2. So remember, the first number is always going to be an x. And the second number, in this case, that's my 14, that's going to be a y, because the second number in the pair is always a y. So I'm going to make this y2. So I've got x1, y1, x2, and y2. So all I have to do now is just come up here and just plug these numbers into the formula. So for y2 here, I know that 14 is y2. So I'm going to plug 14 in for y2. And this y1 here, if I look at my label, I know that 10 is y1. So I'm just going to take this 10 and plug it into the formula here for y1. Now, what's my x2 going to be? Well, I know that x2 is 10. So I just plug that in for x2. I'm going to come over here to this 12 because I know that that's my x1, and that I'm going to plug into the formula for x1. And if you're not sure what I mean, let me show you. So basically, I'm going to rewrite this here, but instead of writing this y2, like I said, we're going to call that 14. And I'm going to do 14 minus y1, which is 10. And then I'm going to come down here, and I need to do x2 minus x1. Now my x2 is 10, and my x1 is 12. So I'm going to do 10 minus 12. Okay, so 14 minus 10 is 4. 10 minus 12 is negative 2. And 4 divided by negative 2 just gives me negative 2. And you can use your calculator for stuff like this as much as you want to. And the final answer here is C, negative 2. Do you have a healthy diet? You know what? This year I've been a lot better than in the past. During the week, I try to eat fairly healthy. And then during the weekends, I don't eat so healthy all the time, but I'm working on it. Do you like watching horror movies or reading horror novels? Yeah, I do. What do you do on the weekends? If it's nice out, we'll go to a park or a playground. My daughter likes going down the slides. We'll push her in the swing, or we'll take her to somewhere where there's a pond or a lake or a creek. If it's rainy out, we'll go to like an indoor play place or a library where there's like toys and kids' books. Or we'll go to a mall and just kind of walk around, and I grab stuff at the food court, probably stuff I shouldn't eat, but you know, I do it anyway sometimes. Did you pass your driving test first time? My actual driving test I did. When I had to take my learner's permit, I actually failed that twice and passed that on my third try. What time did you go to bed last night? Like 12:15, a little after midnight. When you eat in a restaurant, do you order something new or something you know you like? See, these are the types of questions that tear me apart, because this is a really hard decision, and I usually have like 2 or 3 things that I like, and I kind of alternate between those 2 or 3 things. So I don't really go, after I try a couple different things, I don't go too far out of my comfort zone. So here's another question that covers a really important math concept here. I posted this on my community tab and let people answer it, but I want to cover this question here too. So the question is asking, which of the following is false? A positive number multiplied by a positive number results in a positive number. A negative number multiplied by a positive number results in a negative number. A negative number multiplied by a negative number results in a positive number, or a negative number multiplied by a negative number results in a negative number. So now's your chance to pause the video, take all the time you need to think through these, and whenever you're ready, we'll go over the answer. So the last one here, which would be D, is the false one. So that's the correct answer here. So the first 3 statements here are true, and I would recommend knowing these 3 for your test. Now, the last one here, a negative number multiplied by a negative number, that's wrong because 2 negatives that are multiplied together is going to give us a positive number, so that's why this one is wrong, meaning it's the correct answer. Kristen's hockey team played 13 games last year and won 7. Kristen played in each game. What percentage of the games did the team win last year? So now's your chance, if you'd like to pause the video, try to figure this out, take all the time you need, and whenever you're ready, we'll go over the answer. So this is the percent formula that I recommend that you just memorize this and use this on your test. It's part over whole equals percent over 100. And this isn't the only way to do percent questions. In fact, maybe after you practice some of these, you can just look at it and just see how to put the numbers in your calculator without the formula. Maybe you can even do that now. But regardless, this is the formula that I would recommend you use. So I'm going to teach you how to do it using this formula. And for most people, like I said, I know I've repeated this a couple times, but it's really important. For most people, I just recommend memorize this percent formula. Every time you see anything that has to do with percents or percentages, just whip this formula out. And if you plug the numbers in the right way, you're probably going to get the right answer. It's going to work unless they throw you some kind of weird curveball, crazy percent question. It might be a little harder in that case. But for most percent questions, this should be good to get you the right answer if you put the numbers in the right way. So what we want to find here is the percentage, and we're given 2 numbers, 13 and 7. Now, the part is always going to be the smaller number. So I'm going to plug 7 in here for part, and the whole is always going to be the bigger number. So I'm going to put 13 in here for whole. So when I rewrite this, I'm going to have 13, or no, I'm not. I'm going to have 7 over 13 equals percent over 100. Now, what I would recommend you do is just multiply by 100 on both sides. And when I do that, the hundreds are going to cancel out on the right side, leaving me just with the percent. And I'm also going to have to do that over here on the left side. So when I rewrite all of this, I'm going to have 700 over 13 equals the percent sign. And if you just do in your calculator 700 divided by 13, you're going to see that the answer is A, 53.85. Maybe you got 53.846 and then a bunch of other numbers, which is what I actually got in my calculator, but I just rounded it to this. Simplify the following. 8 plus 2a plus 3b plus 6a plus 8z plus 2b. Does this equal A, B, C, or D? So now's your chance, if you'd like to pause the video, try to figure this out, and whenever you're ready, we'll go over the answer. So this type of question is really important to understand here. The concept is adding like terms, and this is really, really important. So basically, the idea here is that we can only add the like terms. And you say, well, what in the world does that mean? Well, let me show you. So everything that has an A in it, I'm going to underline with blue. So I see this 2A, and I see this 6A. So let me change my colors. Let's go with red here. So everything with a B, I can also add that. So this 3B and this 2B, I can add B's. Now 8Z, I don't see anything else with a Z, so I can't add that to anything. Same with this 8. Since this 8 doesn't have an A or a B, I can't add this to anything. All right, so when I work through this here, I see 2A plus 6A. I'm going to do 2 plus 6, and I'm just going to bring that A along for the ride. So 2 plus 6 is 8, and I pull that A along for the ride. So I would have 8 and then 8A. Now let me deal with my B's next. So I have 3B and 2B. So I'm going to do 3 plus 2, and I'm just going to pull that B along for the ride. So 3B plus 2B becomes 5B. And like I said, we can't add the 8Z to anything else here. So the final answer here is just 8 plus 8A plus 5B plus 8Z. This next question is the hardest question in the video in my opinion, so it's this video's Champions Challenge question. If you disagree and think another question was harder, please let me know down below in the comments. Please answer the following question without using a calculator. Please rank the following numbers in order from smallest to largest and write your answer in the box below. So now's your chance if you'd like to pause the video, take all the time you need, try to figure this out, and whenever you're ready, we'll go over the answer. So when I look at this question here, the first thing that I see is that we've got -2 and -6. So which one's bigger, -6 or -2? Well, it's actually -2 is bigger and -6 is smaller. So to rank these from smallest to largest, I'd put -6 as the smallest, and then -2 is the second smallest. And it's easy to look at something like this and think, well, 6 is a bigger number than 2, so therefore -6 must be bigger than -2. But that's actually not correct. It's -6 is smaller than -2. So in order to compare these two fractions, 3 over 7 and 2 over 5, we need to first get a common denominator. Now, the number in the bottom of the fraction is the denominator. So in 3 over 7, 7 is the denominator, and 2 over 5, 5 is the denominator. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my first fraction, and I'm going to look over and see that the denominator of my second fraction is 5. So I'm going to multiply this 7 by 5, and whatever I do to this bottom number, I also have to do it to the top number. So I have to multiply both the top and the bottom numbers by 5. So now let me come over to my second fraction. I've got 2 over 5. So if I look back at my first fraction, I see that it had a 7 in the denominator. So what I'm going to do is multiply both the bottom and the top numbers of this fraction by 7. Okay, so all I did here, I had 3 over 7, and I just multiplied the top and the bottom numbers by 5. The reason I did that is because the second fraction had a 5 in the denominator. Then I came over here to my 2 over 5, and I looked back at the first fraction and saw that it had a 7 in the denominator. So I came over here, and I multiplied both the bottom and the top numbers by 7. All right, I know this is a little bit confusing, but this is going to help us be able to compare the fractions more accurately. So what is 5 times 3? 5 times 3 is 15. What is 5 times 7? 5 times 7 is 35. So I have 15 over 35. Now what about this fraction? What is 2 times 7? 2 times 7 is 14, and 5 times 7 is 35. So now that the denominators match, I just want to look at the bigger numbers and see which number is bigger in the top. So since 15 is a bigger number than 14, that means that 3 over 7 is bigger than 2 over 5. So all I did, again, I just got a common denominator, and once I had that common denominator, I just looked at the top numbers, and I saw that 15 is bigger than 14, therefore 3 over 7 is bigger than 2 over 5. So the final answer here would be -6, -2, 2/5, and then 3/7, like this, from smallest to largest.